Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where and when in the galaxy you happen to find yourself at the time of this transmission's reception. I'm Call, and it's my gosh dang pleasure to spoil the absolute heck out of Mr. James Gunn's Superman film and review it after I'm finished spilling the plot. This transmission is going to consist of 4 phases. Phase 1 will be a very brief listing of the Superman comics and movies that I consumed before watching and reviewing Mr. Gunn's Superman film, because how can I be expected to review a Superman movie if I don't attempt to at least try and understand him first? In Phase 2, I'm going to spoil the plot as clearly and specifically as I can recall without any of my personal input on the information conveyed. In Phase 3, we will examine Superman as a character and find out what he's all about based off of what I learned from all the comics and movies that I list in Phase 1. In the 4th and final phase, I will give my personal opinions and thoughts on the new movie to see if it stands up to the towering expectations that come with The Man of Steel, and I'll give my final judgment on the new movie. Quick disclaimer, I use Superman stills and clips in this transmission, and I've purchased all the movies, comics, and cartoons they're from. All the stills and clips I use from Mr. Gunn's 2025 movie are merely from those that have been released by DC for promotional purposes that everyone already has access to already. I do not own any of the rights to any content shown or heard in this transmission, and I will never attempt to monetize it. Before seeing the new Superman movie tonight, I compiled a list of some of Superman's most recommended comic book series from forums and websites, and I read the following. 1986's Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow by Mr. Alan Moore and Mr. Kurt Swan, and that's the last Silver Age comic of Superman. Then I read 1986's Man of Steel by Mr. John Byrne, which is a retelling of Superman's origin story. 1992's Death of Superman by Mr. Dan Jurgens. 96's Kingdom Come by Mr. Mark Waite and Mr. Alex Ross. 99's Peace on Earth by Mr. Paul Dini and Mr. Alex Ross. 99's For All Seasons by Mr. Jeff Loeb and Mr. Tim Sale. 03's Birthright by Mr. Mark Waid and Mr. Lionel Francis Yu. 05's All-Star Superman by Mr. Grant Morrison and Mr. Frank Quitely. 06's Last Son by Mr. Jeff Johns and Mr. Richard Donner and Mr. Adam Kubert. 08's Superman number 680, Dog of Steel, with some art by Alex Ross there. 09's Secret Origins and Brainiac, both by Mr. Jeff Johns and Mr. Gary Frank. And quick note, Mr. Jeff Johns became the chief creative officer of DC Comics after those 2 comics were released. And 2013's Unchained by Mr. Scott Snyder and Mr. Jim Lee. I also watched 1978's, 1980's, 1984's, and 1987's Mr. Christopher Reeve Superman movies directed by Mr. Richard Donner, Mr. Richard Lester, and Mr. Sidney Furie. I watched 06's Superman Returns, starring Mr. Brandon Routh, directed by Mr. Bryan Singer. 2013's Man of Steel, starring Mr. Henry Cavill, directed by Mr. Zack Snyder. I also watched the 1940s Fleischer cartoons and the 90s animated series. That's Phase 1, one and done, ladies and gentlemen, so ladle yourself out a piping hot bowl of beef bourguignon and pour yourself an ice-cold glass of farm fresh milk, because we're about to spoil the heck out of 2025's Superman. So the movie starts with text telling us Superman has been around in Metropolis for about 3 years. This isn't an origin story, but it's clearly early in Superman's career. We find out he just lost the first fight of his life to the Hammer of Baravia, who is actually a clone that Lex Luthor created from a hair from Superman, and his real name is Ultraman. Superman is in bad shape and bleeding, and after he crashes into the snow, and he whistles for Krypto, a Kryptonian dog who shows up, wants to roughhouse and play, but eventually grabs Superman's cape and drags him to the Fortress of Solitude. The doors open as they approach, and Kryptonian robots help carry Superman inside. They play the transmission his parents left him as a baby because the robots think that the message soothes Kal-El, which it does. He seems to like having it played for him. They place him on a medical table and blast him with a yellow sun energy through lenses that are magnifying the power of the sun and are healing him quickly but painfully. You can hear his bones crack. He's yelling in pain. Superman notices that Krypto has caused a bit of damage to the fortress, and Robot 4 states that the K-9 is unruly and disobedient. Superman then flies back to Metropolis to continue fighting the Hammer of Baravia. Meanwhile, the Engineer, another metahuman under Lex Luthor's control, has followed Superman to the fortress from where he crash landed, and while she couldn't get inside, she found the location of the Fortress of Solitude, okay? So back in Metropolis, the Hammer of Baravia, aka Ultraman, is basically talking smack to the people of Metropolis as he's terrorizing them, telling them, you know, because Superman interfered with Baravia, which is a country invading another country, now you Americans will suffer my wrath because Superman bothered to get involved, right? Put his nose where it shouldn't be. Superman shows back up and gets pretty much worked again because Lex Luthor and his evil NASA control room team basically control Ultraman remotely. And it's stated that Lex has been studying Superman for years and he knows how to counter him. At one point, Superman gets knocked into the ground. A food cart guy tries to help Superman get back up, and Lex uses facial ID to get that guy's information and address. Lex then calls Ultraman back to base through a series of portals because Lex has portal technology. And so the Hammer of Baravia, aka Ultraman, basically comes back to base because Lex has gotten the information from the engineer of where Superman hangs his cape. The next day, Superman's at his job at the Daily Planet as Clark Kent, and Lois asks him how he's able to get all these Superman interviews, even though she knows because she's dating him and they're just putting up a front. And she and Superman have been dating for like 3 months now. Also, Jimmy Olsen is really popular with women. They're always smiling at him, flirting with him, texting him, all that jazz. Jimmy Olsen apparently is very popular with women. That night, Superman shows up to Lois's apartment and they kiss, and it's clear they're in a relationship and they're hanging out. And eventually they come to the idea of Superman being interviewed by Lois. Lois tells him, she warns him, you probably won't like being interviewed by me, but he is like, no, let's do it anyway. And they kind of butt heads, and she asks some questions like, did you talk to the president of Baravia before doing stuff? What did you do? Like, why was it okay for you to interfere with another country's affairs? And Superman's just really focused on, I'm just going to preserve life, like I'm not going to let people die. And they kind of get into a mild dispute. It's nothing crazy. And then Lois says, oh, they also bring up social media, and like the term super really gets under Superman's skin apparently on social media, but he says he doesn't have time for social media, but sometimes he does check it and it bothers him. And then eventually they stop the interview because it's not going great, and Lois says, I knew this wouldn't work, and talking about their relationship, and Clark's like, well, what do you mean by that? And she says, I don't think she says anything. Clark asks her again then, what do you mean by that? And she's like, nothing. And he's like, okay. And then he calmly leaves because it's clear she doesn't want to keep talking about it and he's not going to force the issue. So he just kind of like bounces out. He's got some stuff to do. And then meanwhile, while that's happening that night, LexCorp has released a baby kaiju into Metropolis. By the next day, the kaiju is enormous and terrorizing Metropolis. It's a distraction for Superman so they can go to the fortress and get his stuff. So Superman shows up to stop the kaiju. He wants to find a way to stop it without killing it. But the Justice Gang, which is consisting of a Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific show up and they kill the kaiju. And Superman wanted to preserve its life, but didn't work out. He did save a squirrel. He did save a lady. He also saved a dog during all of that. While this is happening, Lex uses Ultraman's genetic code to enter the Fortress of Solitude with the Engineer, and they obliterate Superman robots and capture Krypto, but not before he gets a hit in on the Engineer. The Engineer then hacks the Fortress's computer and manages to extract the second half of Superman's parents' message to him, which is that he was sent to Earth to conquer it and spawn with as many Earthlings as possible. Lex then broadcasts this message to all of Metropolis and all of the world, and now nobody trusts Superman and thinks he's a threat. Superman goes to the Hall of Justice, where there's a bunch of people outside rioting because now Superman's not very popular. And then Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, shows up and confronts him and says, is it true? Do you have a harem? Were you sent here to conquer Earth? And demands to know these things. Superman's like, no, of course not. That's not the case. And then he realizes the only way the transmission was extracted was via his fortress, so he knows his house got broken into. So Superman flies back as fast as he can and finds out that his robots have been killed and Krypto has been kidnapped. Enraged, he flies to LexCorp and attempts to intimidate Lex and use brawn over brains to get the location of Krypto, but of course Lex wanted that to happen. He's recording it for social media to make him look even worse. That night, Superman goes to Lois and tries to convince her that he isn't here to conquer Earth and he's not a bad person, and Lois is like, yeah, obviously, you don't have to try and even convince me of that. That's pretty clear. And then Superman says, I love you to her, and says he should have told her a while ago, and then tells her he's going to be handing himself into the United States government because they want to question him over the Baravia intervention. Lex Luthor works with the Baravian leader as well as the US government too, so when Superman's brought in, Lex has him taken to a pocket universe, an alternate dimensional prison where he keeps people he wants out of his way. Ultraman takes him to the dimensional portal, and Superman is locked in a clear cell with Metamorpho, a metahuman that can form any element. Lex has Metamorpho's child held hostage in a cell directly in front of them, so Metamorpho keeps Superman extremely weakened and tortured by kryptonite. And Lex basically tells him have this kryptonite out at all times and make his life miserable and keep him super messed up. So he does, because he's afraid that Lex will kill his child. Meanwhile, Lois figures out that Superman's, missing, and so she goes to Jimmy Olsen, and because he has a massive amount of Riz, he tells Lois that Superman is in a pocket dimension. The reason he knows this, which is revealed in Act 3, is because, like most women, Lex Luthor's current girlfriend finds Jimmy irresistible and gives him info all the time, because I think they went on a date like one time. So she basically says he's in a pocket dimension to Jimmy via text. This gets her thrown into the portal to prison as well, by the way, when Ultraman uses his super hearing to find out that Lex's girlfriend is giving out the information to Superman's location to Jimmy Olsen. Lois then asks the Justice Gang for help, but only Mr. Terrific is willing to do so, not Guy Gardner and not Hawkgirl. So he takes her in his spaceship UFO craft to the military base that they took Superman to before sending him through the dimensional portal. Lex then brings the food cart guy that he had gotten the ID and information from that tried to help Superman up off the ground, and he puts a single bullet in a old school revolver and plays Russian roulette, basically. I think he's asking Superman questions here, but I don't really remember. But he takes one shot at the guy's head and it doesn't kill him, and then he spins it one more time and shoots the guy in the head, but not before the cart guy told him, Superman, I don't believe any of the bad news about you. It was an honor when you ate my food. And then right after he says that, the second shot kills him. And Lex was kind of surprised because he thought it would last longer, but yeah, he shoots him in the head. This is distressing to Superman and convinces Metamorpho to help Superman, but only in exchange for his son being saved. So as soon as Lex leaves, that's when Metamorpho starts to help him. Lex also reveals an army of social media chimpanzees that have basically been technologically altered, and they're on social media 24/7 rage baiting about being toxic. And that's where the super shit hashtag that bothers Superman so much comes from. So he's actually got an army of literal chimpanzees that are basically bots online. So after Lex leaves to find more people to shoot in front of Superman, Metamorpho stops creating the kryptonite and creates sunlight, which helps heal Superman and makes him strong enough to break free out of the prison. He then saves Metamorpho, saves his baby son, saves Krypto from his prison, and they all barely escape via Superman's super breath, propelling them away from some closing black hole type of river of space and time, and they escape through the portal opening that Lois and Mr. Terrific were barely keeping open because they had gotten into this dimension looking for Superman. Okay? Lex finds out Superman escaped and he's not happy about it. Superman goes back to his Earth foster parents' farm in Smallville, Kansas. There, Superman recovers from the kryptonite poisoning, struggling with his identity now that he knows the second half of the message from his Kryptonian parents, Jor-el and Lara, was to conquer Earth. Superman's foster father, Jonathan Kent, tells him his actions and choices are what define him, not some message, and that he couldn't be more proud of Clark. The smaller country being invaded starts campaigning for Superman to save them as Baravia forces invade. Superman wants to go help them, but the pocket dimension universe they escaped is now opening up in Metropolis, threatening to destroy the entire planet. So Superman is forced to not help the Baravian opposition, and the Justice Gang go to save them instead, while Superman faces down Ultraman and the Engineer in Metropolis, with the whole city basically collapsing into a black hole. The three of them fight in a baseball stadium, and the Engineer starts choking Superman with her nanomachines by basically putting them into his nose, his mouth, his lungs, covers his whole head with it, and Ultraman's on him the whole time too, and so basically he starts to suffocate. So he flies up into space with the Engineer and Ultraman hanging onto him, and then he crashes down into Earth as fast as possible to knock the Engineer unconscious. And at that point, it's revealed that Ultraman is the clone of Superman. His mask comes off, and you can see his long hair. And Lex is still controlling him via his NASA evil, NASA team at LexCorp. And they fight it out, and it's a tough fight, and Superman wins and throws him into the black hole dimension thingy, I think. And while that's happening, the Daily Planet employees are all riding around in Mr. Terrific's UFO spaceship to help close the portal, I think, but I'm not really sure. And at one point, to avoid being sucked into the black hole dimension that's opening in the city, LexCorp's entire tower basically detaches into a spaceship. So his tower is also a spaceship basically that can leave on the move whenever they need to. Superman and Krypto also beat up a lot of the LexCorp employees who are wearing those power suits that you see in a lot of the comics. Hawkgirl in the third act is carrying the Baravian leader, I think, and he's like, "You'll not kill me, I know you're like Superman." And then the hot girl's like, "I'm not like Superman," and she drops him and kills him, I'm pretty sure. Superman then basically essentially saves the day because clone Superman's been thrown into a portal, the portal's been closed, Metropolis has been saved, and he shows up at LexCorp and gives like a speech to Lex Luthor about how his humanity is the best attribute of his, and that Lex is a big meanie face. And then Lex gets arrested and goes to jail. Superman and Lois go and make out where no one can see them making out because they want to still keep it a secret. At the end of the movie, there's a short scene where you see Superman and Krypto in space on the moon looking at Earth, and then while he's back at his Fortress of Solitude, it's shown that Robot 4 is alive and repaired. And then at the end of the movie, when he's being repaired by the sunlight, or at least being attended to by the robots one more time, they play the video of his parents again, because again, that soothes him. But now instead of footage of Jor-El and Lara, now it's footage of his foster Earthling parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, that he's watching fondly. And then Supergirl shows up, and she's really drunk, and she thanks Superman for watching her dog by saying, "Thanks, bitch," and then leaves. And that's a quote. That's what she said. And that's the end of the movie. And with the spoilers and the plot out of the way, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Phase 3. Who is Superman, and what is this guy all about?
Who is this imbecile? Where is he?
The name his biological parents Jor-El and Lara gave him is Kal-El, but he goes by many others too. Clark Kent.
Clark Kent!
Hello, Cal. Or do you prefer Clark? That's the name they gave you, isn't it?
The Man of Steel.
Oh, let me help you, Lana. Oh, I'm sorry.
The Dude of Steel.
The Dude of Steel. Boy, are you gonna get it.
Soups. The Last Son of Krypton, Big Blue.
Make a move, Big Blue.
The Big Blue Boy Scout. The Son of Jor-El.
The son of Jor-El.
The son of Jor-El on this planet.
Possibly you know him better by his nom de voyage or his name he travels under, Superman.
So this is Superman.
Smallville. Plain Old Kent. The Man of Tomorrow.
They can be a great people, Kal-el. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way.
And probably his most famous nickname of all,
Dick Splash.
and if anyone tries to tell you that last one isn't really a famous nickname of Superman's, Lex Luthor would like you to know that you're wrong! The guy has more nicknames than the Fortress of Solitude has crystals.
I don't even know what to call you.
Clark is a humanoid extraterrestrial from the planet Krypton, a green planet that orbited a red sun in the Rao system or the Roa system. His father, Jor-El, launched him into space in an escape pod moments before Krypton's destruction, which safely carried Kal-El to planet Earth.
The whole planet, Houston?
Earth. The whole planet Earth.
Get over. Can you get over to the commentator?
You may continue.
His alien craft crash lands in Smallville, Kansas, in the United States, where he's adopted and raised by his loving and humble foster parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent.
Where did you train? On a farm?
But farming. Really? Man of your talents? It's a peaceful life.
Now, Earth's yellow sun gives Kryptonians like Clark incredible powers, from super strength.
Let's just hold hands.
Let me know if this tickles.
To heat vision, to freeze breath, the power of flight, the ability to see through walls, and even bricklaying vision. And Clark isn't the only alien that gets incredible powers from the Earth's yellow sun. There's the soft-spoken and philosophical Nuclear Man, Clark's friend from Daxamite, Mon-El, to Wraith, an extraterrestrial that's been on Earth since the 30s and was used to nuke Nagasaki for the United States government to make it seem like the Americans had more than one bomb. But who is Superman the individual, and what makes him tick? What are the core foundations of Kal-El, aka Clark Kent, aka Flash, that make him up as a person? I couldn't narrow it down to just one thing, but I compiled a list of traits as best I could from the common themes I came across in the movies and the comics. But before we go over those, I'd like to read to you an intro written by David S. Goyer for Geoff Johns' Superman: Secret Origin. David S. Goyer is the writer for 2013's Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill. Quote, "And then there's Superman, the holy grail of comic book characters. The guy can do basically anything, and he's not someone the reader can readily identify with. I once told Jeff that I thought it was virtually impossible to write a truly great modern-day Superman story. Well, I was wrong. Jeff has truly humanized the Man of Steel. In Jeff's version, young Clark is an outsider, someone we actually feel sorry for. He's a boy grappling with the twin challenges of puberty and his emerging powers. He wants to blend in and be one of us, but he has to face up to the awful truth that he never will be. There's a heartbreaking moment halfway through the first chapter in which young Clark is told the truth about his heritage. He races out into the night sobbing, stumbling through the cornfields. Eventually, his foster father Jonathan finds him. 'I don't want to be someone else,' says Clark. 'I don't want to be different. I want to be Clark Kent. I want to be your son.' Right there, in that moment, Jeff contextualized Superman in a way that I'm not sure has ever really been done before. I had an aha experience when I read that. For the first time, I was able to grasp how lonely Clark must have been when he was growing up, and what a sacrifice Clark must continually make by being Superman." End quote. 4 years later, Mr. Goyer would incorporate this concept and explore it in a slightly different scene on the big screen in Mr. Snyder's Man of Steel. Here's a snippet from that.
You saw how Pete's mom reacted, right? She was scared of Clark.
Why?
People are afraid of what they don't understand.
Is she right? Did God do this to me? Tell me.
We found you in this. This was in the chamber with you. You're the answer to "Are we alone in the universe?"
I don't want to be.
And I don't blame you, son. It'd be a huge burden for anyone to bear. But you're not just anyone, Clark, and I have to believe that you were sent here for a reason. All these changes that you're going through, one day you're going to think of them as a blessing, and when that day comes, you're going to have to make a choice. A choice of whether to stand proud in front of the human race or not.
Can I just keep pretending I'm your son?
You are my son. But somewhere out there, you have another father, too, who gave you another name.
But Mr. Geoff Johns, Mr. Snyder, and Mr. Goyer weren't the first Earthlings to explore the idea of Kal-El being different and an outsider grappling with his dual identities. A decade earlier, Mr. Nick Cage touched on these same ideas.
See, Superman to me is a character who is a misfit, and he's an alien from another planet, and he's trying to fit in. You know, it's okay to be different. And, you know, kids are in class getting called weirdo. Don't feel bad because, you know, Superman's a weirdo. You know, he's from outer space. There's so many levels. You've got nurture versus nature, the whole thing about, you know, being from Krypton or your adopted parents, you know, what is it? You have the feeling of being an outsider.
And a decade before that, the late great Mr. Christopher Reeve also explored those same ideas.
To play the outward appearance of the character as a quality results in a very stiff portrayal. In other words, if you end up saying, he's a hero, I will therefore look heroic, you're dead. What you have to do, think about it in emotional terms. What is it to be an orphan? What is it to be different? What is it to be an alien? What is it to have lost one home? And the result, when you get in, plug into all that stuff, is a tremendous need and generosity for other people. So that is the organic source of his heroic actions. So now you're acting something you can understand rather than just posing.
When asked what Superman means philosophically to people, Mr. Christopher Reeve had this to say.
Philosophically, what does Superman represent to people?
A friend.
Who are you?
A friend. and that's what people really need most. They don't need a strong arm, one-man vigilante force. They need a friend. We're living in an age when people are basically afraid of contact with each other. They're afraid. People live in cities. They don't even know their neighbors. They're afraid to go out in the street. Something might happen to them. Basically, technology is against you. Life is overwhelming. Even the bank doesn't know who you are. And it's like, we run around scared a lot, particularly those of us who live in cities. And America was founded on the virtues of a helping hand, of going 5 miles to lend your neighbor a donkey or whatever he needed. And I think that is that kind of virtue that's at the bottom. That's the heart of Superman. The genuine love of people, and that you always know he's your friend.
Mr. Reeve kicked off my list of traits with a big one. Superman's a friend. Or to put it another way, he's a guy that just wants to help.
I just wanted to help.
They're my friends, I gotta help them.
This is derived from his empathy and compassion, which comes from being raised by loving parents. Whether it's helping someone that almost got him killed.
Say, does your boss have a computer in this operation?
Yeah, he got a little bitty one about that big.
Well, you tell him he could do a lot worse than to give Gus Gorman here a job.
Wow, thank you, sir.
Take care. I'll see you around.
Or aiding an intern in keeping his job by letting him take photos of Superman even though he's trying to keep a low profile. Or getting a cat out of a tree.
Hi, I'll get him. Come on, it's all right. Here you go, miss.
Gee, thanks, mister.
Oh. Bye, Frisky. So long now. Bye.
Bye.
Superman is there for the assist. The Boy Scout. Associates of both Clark Kent the reporter and Kal-El the Superman god both call him a Boy Scout, and for good reason, due to his strong moral compass and being raised to do the right thing. He doesn't swear.
What the hey, dude? You destroyed the whole...
He doesn't lie. He's the kind of individual you would want your kids to look up to as an example.
Clark is the oldest living Boy Scout, okay? He's trustworthy, he's helpful, he's loyal.
You really shouldn't smoke, Miss Lane. You never lie.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. White. I was wondering if perhaps you could arrange for half my salary to be sent to this address on a weekly basis.
Your bookie, right?
A what?
Don't tell me. He sends a check every week to his sweet gray-haired old mother.
Actually, she's silver-haired.
I think these two men should be safe here with you now until they can get a fair trial. Oh, let me help you, Lana.
I'm terribly sorry about all the damage, sir.
Well, don't you watch television?
Well, actually, I don't really enjoy television, Mr. White. There's too much violence. I was just reading Dickens.
I'm usually in bed by 10:30.
Kal-El is a stubborn individual, and he seems to have inherited that trait from his earthling foster mother, Martha Kent.
Martha! Why did you say that name?
Anybody who buys it has to want a real farm. I don't think we need another shopping center.
Now, darn it, Clark, why are you so stubborn?
When Clark comes to a decision, there is no stopping him from following through. He's a bit of a mule in that regard. Once his heels are dug in, that is that.
My actions? I stopped a war.
Maybe.
Not maybe. I did.
The son of Jor-El has an enormous amount of humility.
Humility?
No, not humility. You got bags of humility.
Unlike a certain other Kryptonian who shall remain nameless.
Oh, God.
Zod. Come to me, son of Jor-El! Kneel before Zod! The son of Jor-El will be my slave. Forever.
Clark is the most humble kid to ever grace the cornfields of Kansas. He's quick to deflect credit, and he gets that from his earthling father, Jonathan Kent. Despite being the most worldly and otherworldly being on the planet, having traveled through time and space, Kal-El is still the most grounded, down-to-earth fellow you could hope to meet. Clark is a global icon, but still takes the time to read officers' name tags when speaking to them.
Good evening, Officer Mooney.
When he single-handedly saved the entire state of California from being nuked into the ocean, he takes no credit and assures the warden it's a team effort.
This country is safe against Superman, thanks to you.
No, sir. Don't thank me, Warden. We're all part of the same team. Night.
And that isn't an act, that's just Clark Kent. He's not a show-off. He doesn't admire his accomplishments. He focuses on what more he could have done and on what he should do next. Clark is an extremely generous and thoughtful person. He's always putting himself in other people's shoes and considering their perspectives. He's an empathetic and kind individual, and that comes from being raised by his loving mother and father.
I was wondering, Mr. Hornsby, maybe you'd like to keep these for your grandchildren.
Why, thank you very much, Clark.
Clark didn't give a second thought to giving away his old baseball mitt, despite its sentimental value. Jonathan Kent and Clark played catch all the time when Clark was growing up, and Kal-el is a sentimental guy, as we know.
I was looking around in my closet last night, and I even found my old high school sweater. Smallville.
Most people wouldn't part with an item like that, but Clark does so with no hesitation. It speaks volumes about his character. And when he found out that his old high school sweetheart slash best friend slash maybe only friend, Lana Lang, had pawned off a diamond ring because she needed to for financial reasons, he went and made her another one because he's just that cool.
Are you kidding us? Didn't you see us fly out of the sky? I was 9 in my head. Is it super? We're the only two men who can fly.
I was talking to Superman the other day. You know, he and I, well, we talk a lot, and he felt really badly about you having to pawn your diamond ring. And, well, he found this one just lying around, and he wanted you to have this.
Wow, a ring from Superman.
Oh, it's okay, I get it.
Oh, Clark.
It's okay.
It fits.
Looks really pretty.
Kal-el is an extremely polite and respectful individual. He addresses people as Mr. or Miss or Sir.
Hey, Clark, let's have all those clothes washed and ready for tomorrow's game,
Yes,
okay?
Miss Lane.
Excuse me, Mr. White.
He's the kind of gentleman that pulls a chair out for a lady and does it with a smile.
Oh, thank you.
He takes the time to say excuse me to those he doesn't have time for.
Hey, Jim! Whoa!
Excuse me.
That's a bad outfit!
The Kryptonian is so polite that he apologizes to you when he's saving your life.
All right, we'll go nice and easy. Ow! Okay, I'm sorry. All right? Here we go.
Even his trash talk is respectful.
General, would you care to step outside?
He's the kind of dude who stands up when being introduced to a lady, and he'll shake her hand and thank her for her time, even if she's there to take over the company he works for and turn it into an immoral, tabloid, money-making machine.
My daughter, Lacey Warfield.
Thanks, Daddy.
It's very nice to meet you, ma'am. Thank you.
Is he for real?
The Man of Steel is a selfless person. He's always willing to do anything and everything to defend the people of Metropolis and Earth. And if it kills him to do so, so be it. That's a price he's always willing to pay. In All-Star Superman, when he learns he only has weeks left to live, he doesn't spend any time worrying about his own impending doom. His thoughts immediately go to how is he going to finish helping those that need it most in the short amount of time that he has left. It doesn't get any more selfless than that.
Oh, what a joker old Jonathan Kent was. You know, I asked him what happened to the baby's crib, and he said, oh, little Clark must have had a bad dream and kicked it.
There we go. Dad liked a good joke. Yeah.
Apparently, Clark takes after his old man because he loves to crack jokes and have fun too. And when I say he likes to make jokes, I mean it.
Hi there. Something wrong with the elevator? Going down.
Would you like a glass of wine?
No thanks. I never drink when I fly. Bad vibrations? There you go.
Again!
No, I'm sorry. Only one ride to a customer.
Give me another plate of this garbage.
Gee, that's funny. Never seen garbage eat garbage before.
I believe this is your floor.
This order's to go. Oh, I've been working out.
Oh, sure, here.
No pain, no gain? 48, 9, 3, done.
He's a borderline troll. I mean, look at this.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Just leave it there, Clark. Just...
Hello? Hello?
This dude is even cracking jokes and grinning when moments away from death.
I don't know if I'll be fast enough to get it before the wound closes.
Where's the Flash when you need him?
Do me a favor and lose the sense of humor.
Do us both a favor and buy one.
The guy just can't resist a good time. He likes making corny jokes so much he learns new languages so he can say them in those too.
Вам здесь будет безопаснее, товарищ. До свидания. Счастливого полета.
He even likes to play around with the audience by indirectly nudging the fourth wall.
Why are there no air travel expenses here for you, Mr. Kent?
Well, I usually get airsick, sir, especially when it's bumpy.
Kal-el is a joyful, happy person charged with positive emotions. And who can blame him? When you can hang out on the moon and corkscrew and barrel roll around in the sky at will, you're going to be having a great time and usually be in great spirits. Even when Clark is at his most emotionless and stoic in Kingdom Come, where he abandons his humanity and rejects his Earth name for a bit, Kal-el still finds the time to smile. Clark has been playing around, smiling and joking since the 40s.
I didn't even get a chance to thank him. Thanks, Clark, but I owe it all to Superman.
As the mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent, he is sometimes, though not always, depicted as a big country lummox that can't help but sometimes get in the way and be a little clumsy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shake it up like that.
All right, there. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Clark.
Good boy. Sorry.
Thank you.
Well, hey, Lois, maybe we can...
Lois? Oh, here, I'll just get the door for you. Oh, yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Go, I'll tell her.
Thank you.
Hello, Pete.
Hi.
If I have to face Superman, so do you.
Lacey? Oh, sorry.
A gentle giant that is always knocking something over. Both the comics and the movies kind of imply Kal-el grows to the size of an industrial-grade refrigerator, which is probably adding to the effect of his uncoordinated act.
You really have grown, Clark.
You look very well, Miss Patterson.
Oh, I can't complain.
The act also includes being a bit meek and a little socially awkward too.
Lois Lane, say hello to Clark Kent. Hold you one, Pete.
Remember my dynamite expose on the sex and drug orgy?
Going down?
Oh, no. Oh.
Getting down to about
Time.
There's something you're sadly lacking in, son.
Humility?
No, not humility. You got bags of humility. Aggression, confidence. That's the ticket. Take charge. Let people know who you are.
Superman has long been an American icon and stands for truth, justice, and the American way.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice and the American way.
Which Mr. Reeve touched on earlier.
America was founded on the virtues of a helping hand, of going 5 miles to lend your neighbor a donkey or whatever he needed. And I think that is that kind of virtue that's at the bottom, that's the heart of Superman.
There's a rich history of iconic imagery of Superman and Old Glory together in both films and the comics.
I grew up in Kansas, General. About as American as it gets.
Clark is an inspiring entity that represents and brings hope.
Not if you guide them, Cal. Not if you give them hope. That's what this symbol means. The symbol of the House of El means hope.
He makes people look up both literally and metaphorically and makes them become happier, better versions of themselves. Kal-el is an optimistic individual who is famous for saying, "There's always a way." And they don't call him the Man of Tomorrow for nothing. Superman sets an example for humanity to lead it to a brighter future. In Peace on Earth, he teaches people how to grow food to try to solve world hunger after failing to do so on his own. In much the same way the sun radiates energy, Superman radiates positive vibrations, and those vibes are contagious. He inspires hope and joy in those he comes into contact with, whether he's being Clark Kent the mild-mannered reporter or Superman the celebrity. Being in Kent's orbit turned a bratty, spoiled, and shallow Lacey Warfield into an introspective, thoughtful woman that wants to focus on the truth over profits.
Don't be silly. All men like me. I'm very, very rich.
Jeez, what a jerk. Never realized it before. I guess a lot of people I know are jerks. Maybe you think the same thing about me. That's why you keep avoiding me.
Oh, no, I don't think that at all. Just been really busy, that's all.
I think we've got to tone down these headlines a bit.
Tone down our headlines? Lacey, that's all the common man reads.
Well, we could do with a little less sensationalism.
Less sensational papers go broke. I thought I taught you long ago that the business of newspapers is business.
No, Daddy. Our business is journalism.
In Secret Origin, an impatient, irritable woman bumps into Clark Kent in the beginning of the comic while he's looking up admiring the architecture of Metropolis. She can't comprehend Clark is trying to help her by picking up her purse and calls him an oaf. But by the end of the comic, she's changed her outlook entirely and is an understanding, kinder, and more joyous person thanks to the presence and effect of Superman on Metropolis and its citizens. He leads by example and urges the citizens that they are powerful too, and that they don't need a savior, but rather everyone needs to collectively help each other. One of the biggest pieces to the Superman puzzle is his humanity, his compassion and empathy. He's always asking if you're all right and checking to make sure you're okay.
You okay?
Uh-huh.
Are you all right?
Are you all right?
Uh-huh.
Are you okay?
You okay?
You all right?
Are you all right?
Clark's foster parents treating him as their own son was instrumental in his development. Jonathan refers to his mother as Clark's grandmother.
We saved the farm. Your grandma baked me cake when I met your mother.
It proves love transcends the biological because Jonathan and Martha Kent definitely have just as much claim to being Kal-el's parents as Jor-el and Lara do.
He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy.
And one could argue it's only because of all four of them that Superman is able to shoulder the responsibility of being who he is and not turn out like a certain other Flash. Clark is constantly grappling with his humanity, as Nick Cage and others touched on. He's an outsider and will never be one of us despite making Earth his home. I guess that's probably why they call it the Fortress of Solitude. And yet he has an enormous amount of humanity and consideration for others. He cherishes all life, not just humans. The man has an intergalactic zoo in his icy man cave. He loves animals, whether it's a dog or a horse or a sun-eater or a parrot. And Superman's enemies have long seen his compassion and love for living things as a weakness, to be exploited.
This Superman is nothing of the kind. I've discovered his weakness.
Yes.
He cares. He actually cares for these Earth people.
Like pets.
I suppose so.
Sentimental idiot.
No! Don't do it! The people! The son of jor-el will be my slave forever. If not, the millions of Earthlings you protect will pay for your defiance.
That's for Dan Turpin.
Who?
The good man you murdered.
Had I known one human's death would pain you so, I would have killed more. And kill more I shall. Carry that agony with you to oblivion, Superman.
If you love these people so much, you can mourn for them. Don't do this!
You are weak, son of El. Unsure of yourself. The fact that you possess a sense of morality, and we do not, gives us an evolutionary advantage. And if history has proven anything, it is that evolution always wins.
But it's also one of his greatest strengths. People fear what they don't understand, and Clark being so different isolated him a bit, so he cherished his friendship and compassion more than most, as it was harder to come by for him during his sometimes lonely childhood. It's why people like Lana Lang and Lois Lane are so crucial to Clark. They are his direct connection to humanity and make him feel like he belongs, like he fits in. They provide him with love and understanding and acceptance, which he needs due to his home planet and people being destroyed so he can't fit in there, and the fact that he will literally never be one of us here on Earth either. In For All Seasons, Lana Lang reminds Clark that no matter how powerful he's become, he's still just a person, and we've all got stuff to deal with from time to time.
Clark, may I tell you something?
Whether Clark liked it or not, his isolation and struggling to fit in ultimately is what helped shape Superman's view of Earth and how he goes about doing what he does, helping people. And by doing this, he sets an example for everybody else to follow.
The thing that I'm most passionate about is not so much the nuclear issue as about a way of looking at the world that Superman represents. In fact, he says at the end of the movie, in a line that I wrote, he says, I just wish you could all see the Earth the way that I see it. Because when you really look at it, it's just one world. And what he means is not something political. He means from his point of view out in space when he's out there hanging around. It's the view you get from the space shuttle, and you see the Earth as this beautiful, fragile marble just hanging there in space, and that we need to take better care of it. We should think of ourselves, all of us, this world is Smallville, is a small town, and we should feel like neighbors. And if that idea sort of subliminally gets planted in kids throughout the world, then something can grow from that.
I just wish you could all see the Earth the way that I see it. Because when you really look at it, it's just one world.
Kal-el's judgment might be the most important aspect of his character.
It's Superman's decision now. I'm sure he'll do the right thing.
And this is built up over guidance from both his farmer father, Jonathan, and his Kryptonian father, Jor-el. They are crucial in leading Clark along the path to being a wise, composed person, making clear decisions. Jonathan Kent teaches Clark at an early age that he can choose to do whatever he wants. But those choices will have a heavy cost, as they will affect the entire world in an either positive or negative way because of how powerful Clark is.
Come on, Kent.
Come on!
Did they hurt you?
You know they can't.
It's not what I meant. I meant, are you all right?
I wanted to hit that kid. I wanted to hit him so bad.
I know you did. I mean, part of me even wanted you to, but then what? Make you feel any better? You just have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be, Clark, because whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's going to change the world.
There's a scene in Brainiac where Clark's Earth father has died, and in his head, Clark is playing out what he wants to do, which is to ruthlessly beat Brainiac to death. But it's his morality and his ability to make tough choices that stop him from doing things like that. Even Superman doesn't always know what to do all the time. Nobody does.
See, Sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
So who is Splash? At the end of the day, he's just a happy, humble guy from a small town with a huge heart who just wants to help and just happens to be the strongest being in the solar system. He's an extraterrestrial with infectious positivity that uplifts those around him, and despite not being human, has more humanity in him than most people. Ma Kent suggests that if you want to understand Superman, all you have to do is get to know Clark. He's not an impassive, stone-faced gargoyle like his world's finest friend, Bruce.
I don't talk about feelings, Alfred. I don't have any. I've never seen one. I'm a night-stalking, crime-fighting vigilante and a heavy metal rapping machine.
This is a song I wrote for Wild Style. Darkness. It's about how I'm an orphan. No parents. I'm rich.
Take it all the way to the top.
Kinda makes it better.
Who always pays their taxes? Not Batman. I don't feel anything emotionally except for rage. 24/7, 365, at 1,000,000%. And if you think that there's something behind that, then you're crazy. Good night, Alfred.
Sir, it's morning.
Kal-el tends to wear his emotions on his sleeve, and they are almost exclusively positive emotions, like joy and amusement, which is reflected in the bright colors of his costume.
Superman?
That's me.
Give yourselves a hand, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it to phase 4. Thank you so much for listening this far. Honestly, I didn't think we were going to get here. It was taking a while. Now, while not everyone waits till they've seen a movie before judging it in 2025, I'm old-fashioned like the Kents. And by golly, if any film deserved a complete viewing before final judgment, it's the gosh dang Man of Tomorrow. It was important to me that I form my own thoughts and opinions on the movie and draw my own conclusions, and only after collecting the full context of the story from watching its beginning, middle, and end. A fair trial, if you will. Only then can I render final judgment, and trust me, I will. What follows is merely my opinion. Art is subjective, and I am by no means an expert on the character or the comics or anything really, so feel free to disagree. Your opinion is valid too. So you have context on my personal tastes. My favorite Superman movies going into seeing this one were Mr. Reeves' first 2 films and Mr. Cavill's Man of Steel. And the comics I most enjoyed that I listed back in phase 1 were Mr. Jeff Johns and Mr. Gary Frank's Secret Origin and Brainiac, Mr. Snyder and Mr. Lee's Unchained, Mr. Dan Jurgens' Death of Superman, Mr. Jeff Johns and Mr. Richard Donner's Last Son, Mr. Jeff Loeb's and Mr. Tim Sale's For All Seasons, and Mr. Mark Waid and Mr. Alex Ross's Kingdom Come. I'm not here to backseat drive the actors and give them line readings, or tell the cinematographer how to line up a shot, or instruct the costume designer on how to better plan out or sew up a supersuit. Everyone's already a critic these days anyway, and the only art form I'm confident enough to claim mastery in is eating delicious foods quickly. So I'll leave the Michael Caine acting corner breakdowns and the Stanley Kubrick TED Talks to the rest of the galaxy. I'm simply interested in questions like, is this a Superman movie, and is it a good one? Does the story make sense? Is the IP respected, treated with reverence, and followed faithfully? Do the characters at their core reflect the foundations of the ones from the last 80 years of Soup's content? Now, my ma taught me that if you don't have anything nice to say, you shouldn't say anything at all. So I'll start with the positives in each subject, assuming there are any, before moving on to the constructive criticism and complaints, because I want to give credit where it's due. Let's start with an easy one where I only have positive things to say. The colors. The colors are bright and vibrant, and they pop off the screen. You're watching a comic book come alive off the page, and that's pretty cool. Superman and his comics are traditionally colorful, so it makes sense that his movies would be too. I dig it. Moving on to the visual effects and sound design. As far as I could tell, the visual effects were really incredible. Krypto looked real. The quality of graphics remind me of Davy Jones from the Pirates movies, or Peter Jackson's King Kong, or the early CGI of the Jurassic Park films. The effects of Superman zooming around and using his heat vision on the IMAX screen were epic. The practical effects of the real robots were awesome to see, and the makeup on characters like Metamorpho were visually stunning. One mistake I noticed was there was a camera lens being used in Act 1 when Superman's leaving the Fortress of Solitude and Krypto's whining. As he turns, Superman's boot triples in size like a gigantic clown shoe. Most people probably won't notice that, but I did. The sound effects were crispy and they popped. I have no complaints here on the sound design or the visual effects, be they practical or computer generated or makeup. It all looked and sounded great. This movie's script and its plot and dialogue were as bad as a lot of the other individual components of the film were excellent, but that's just my take. Multiple character representations came across as wildly off and historically inaccurate, and the plot points in this film are legitimately bananas. The script got so squirrely, I thought I was watching Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka movie for a hot minute. Some of the decisions made for this film make me think that the out-of-touch executives that tried to force Kevin Smith to have Superman fight a polar bear and a giant spider are pretty reasonable and have sound judgment. I'll elaborate on this much further as we move along, but for now, let's continue to briefly overview each component of the movie. But to be clear, the script was this film's kryptonite. I really liked the majority of the music. The main score encapsulates the spirit of Superman well. It was uplifting, inspiring, hopeful, fun, exciting, epic, adventurous. John Williams' anthem sounds amazing. This isn't the first time they've incorporated John Williams' Superman anthem, but I've never heard it incorporated so well. You could hear the sonic boom of Superman's approach in the music, which was creative, and the intergalactic sci-fi aspects of some of the tracks are really rad. There's some really wonderful guitar work for Clark and for Kent Farm that were really cool. There were two songs that were used. One was Mr. Terrific on Lex Luthor's Guantanamo Bay beach site, which was a 10 out of 10 song choice and fit perfectly in that scene, was, well, terrific. Then there's the Iggy Pop song at the end of the movie, which I would give a 0 out of 10 to, and I thought that was a big mistake. I would have played the main titles again, because you're leaving a Superman movie, you want to feel uplifted, inspired, fired up, and that song doesn't do that at all. I understand why they picked that song, and we'll get into that too, but 0 out of 10, really didn't like that. There was also one track of John Williams' score being incorporated that sounded corny and kind of cheap. Everything else sounded really, really good. The cinematography, I mean, again, I'm not a camera guy, but from what I could tell, it was really good. You could see the art of certain Superman artists in some of the shots. For instance, Jorge Jimenez is really famous for the positive, like, vibrant pictures of Superman, and he incorporates a lot of lens flares, and you could see that directly in this movie. There was one shot of Superman's cape fluttering in the wind that looked just like art from John Byrne's Man of Steel. I'll show you that. There was a shot that looked just like something out of Alex Ross's Kingdom Come epic. It felt like a painting photography shot, and that was nice to see. And there were definitely some shots from For All Seasons of Clark in his bedroom with his dog that really felt like it was from that comic book from, I think it's from 1999. So in the beginning of the movie, after he gets sun charged, he heads back to Metropolis, and as that's happening, the engineer is walking towards camera, and you hear him cracking across the sky, going super fast, and the engineer snaps her head up to look at Superman flying over her head, and the camera follows and looks up too, and you see him soar across the screen, and then the camera comes back down to her. She looks back forward, walking towards the fortress, but she's walking towards camera, and she goes, the alien is on its way back. And then you could feel the joy and exhilaration of Superman flying and zooming and barrel rolling around Antarctica. And for about like 20 seconds, I was watching the best Superman movie ever made. The movie doesn't stay that way and can't maintain that kind of feel for even 30 minutes, let alone 2 hours. But for at least 20 seconds, that was pretty awesome. There's also a shot that had like a 4-layered Superman cake I'd like to tell you about, where he's fighting the kaiju. And he says, "Hey, buddy, eyes up here." And then he flies up and continues to fight the kaiju. So that was a 4-layered reference to Superman, if you don't know. The first one is eyes up here, aka, look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, which is a reference to the old cartoon. So that's an old school reference. It also references his optimism and hope to metaphorically look up, as in to be optimistic and hopeful. Look up. So that's that reference as well. A third reference is he calls him buddy. Remember, his trash talk is always very respectful. He's a respectful person, so him calling the monster buddy is very Superman. The fourth layer of that Superman cake from the cinematography was focus on me. Don't look at the people that are in danger. Look at me. Very selfless, leading the monster's attention away from the innocent civilians and onto himself. Very Superman. That's 4 layers. Then, when he shoots up into the sky after he says that, you as a viewer have the view of what it is to be a Metropolis citizen, seeing what it looks like when Superman zooms up into the sky. But then, you zoom up into the sky just like Superman, and then the camera snaps up over Superman's shoulder. So now you know what it feels like to be Superman and fly like that. And now you've got the perspective over his shoulder of what Superman sees from his point of view. So very cool. The tone of this movie was very light and goofy, too goofy and bordering on absurd and preposterous. This movie is so campy, it makes the Adam West Batman show from the 60s feel like a Christopher Nolan drama. Now, there's nothing wrong with being campy if that's the direction you want to go, and that's the direction they went. They went very far in this direction. They also had a lot of cussing in the movie, which did not fit the silly, kid-friendly tone of the movie and was a bit of a contradiction. The words shit, bitch, and ass came up, and some of them came up more than once, which is not a good example for little kids. So you guys can go ahead and roast me in the comments and call me a boomer and a Karen, but if you're going to make a very kiddie children's movie, which Superman is, so I don't care, then keep it that way and don't cuss so much and so harshly. That seemed like a very conflicting tone, in my opinion. Thankfully, the pacing of the film was decent. It moves along at a brisk clip and follows the standard 30-minute Act 1, 1 hour Act 2, 30-minute Act 3 formula, and it does it well. Some filmmakers insist on forcing 4-hour monstrosities on the audience because they can't bear to cut footage, and luckily, this movie doesn't have that particular problem. The movie does not drag. Costumes. I really liked the costumes for the most part. All of the costumes seem pretty great. Guy Gardner's Green Lantern jacket and whole outfit is very cool. Mr. Terrific's outfit, very terrific, very slick, white, black, and red jacket. He looks really awesome. His shoes are cool, as I'm sure you've seen. Even Hawkgirl's outfit is nice. Lex Luthor is in 3-piece suits, and they look really clean and crisp, which is what he dresses and wears in the comics and the cartoons all the time. So I really like how they dressed Lex Luthor. I mean, honestly, everyone looked great. I was initially kind of harsh on Superman's suit when I first saw it, because I said that it looked like a motorcycle jacket and there was too many folds, but I'll be honest with you, it did grow on me, and there's a lot of it that I do like. And when I heard the director say that he was having the suit be more of a purpose-built sort of industrial work uniform that has a purpose, I was like, okay, fair enough, touche. If that's the direction you want to go, that's cool. He picked the same exact emblem that I would have picked, which is Alex Ross's Kingdom Come S. If you want to call it an S, I love that. That's what I would have picked. It's the coolest one. It's very, very awesome. The Fleischer original yellow edge of the emblem was in place, so that was a nice little nod to the old cartoons from the 40s. As you can see, there's lines on the blue, and the way the cape attaches, those are both qualities of the new 52 outfit, which is cool to see. And then they went back to the old trunks, which I think are all-star trunks, and like the rest of the colors, his outfit has now returned to a traditional, bright, vibrant colored Superman outfit, which I like. It grew on me. It's fun. I like the texture. Fair enough.
With the dog and they let us out the kennel.
I'm going to touch on specific characters now, so buckle up. Born in 1955, Krypto, the Kryptonian canine, has never been on the big screen in a live action before, despite being around for 7 decades, which is 490 years in dog time, so please pardon my French when I say it's about gosh dang time the super dog got his moment in the sun. Krypto behaved a lot like
a dog.
There was one scene where the dialogue was word for word identical to the comics, so props to the dedication to lore accuracy there. He looked real. The graphics were honestly pretty mind-bogglingly good. That all being said, the fact that Krypto is not Kal-El's dog and is instead Supergirl's is absolute bull manure. This is a 100% missed opportunity because Superman is a natural animal lover and longtime dog owner, and animals love him just as much and more.
Go get him!
Clark Kent keeps a framed photograph of his dog in his work briefcase. He writes handwritten letters home to his ma and pa, and in those letters he asks about the family dog. Because to Clark, dogs are family. It was all right there in the comics, and they threw it all out and said, nah, let's make it Supergirl's dog. It really is heresy.
Heresy! Destroy it!
And when writing a character that's difficult to relate to, what could possibly be more relatable to the audience than having a beloved pet? Are the emotional stakes of the world higher when Krypto is the protagonist's loyal and loving pup that he's raised since he was a little puppy, or when he's just some mutt Superman happens to be dog sitting for the weekend? Unless you have this guy's IQ, you're not going to need me to answer that incredibly stupid question. An easy W thrown away, unfortunately, and much like Lois, Hollywood saw Superman and his best friend being happy and they got jealous and split them up. Is anybody surprised this decision got made? Krypto has been Clark's loyal friend for about a half a freaking millennium in dog time. He deserved to be Superman's official pet in the movie, not Supergirl's. And I was willing to consider it being Kara's for plot convenience, but that opening text in the beginning of the movie allows for so much and implies so much. There really is no gosh dang good reason or excuse for Krypto to not be Kal-el's, except you wanted to steal the man's thunder and his four-legged friend away from him to use for someone else in a different movie. Furthermore, apparently Supergirl doesn't deserve Krypto anyway because she's ungrateful, struggling with alcohol, and doesn't even bother training Krypto in the first place. In the comics, Clark spends a lot of positive time with Krypto, experiencing joy, exhilaration, happiness, and fun with him on the moon. And Krypto even helps Superman process grief. He's a very important component to Kal-el dealing with his isolation and grappling with his humanity, because Krypto's just a dog. He doesn't care about if Krypton has exploded. He doesn't care if every human on Earth hates Clark. He loves Clark. Clark is his best friend, and that helps Superman feel valued. Even if all of Earth turns on him, he'll always have his dog, or at least so he thought. It's a tragic misstep not to utilize this naturally in the script, and it was wasted on that shot of them on the moon in the after credits. That could have easily been in the movie if it was his dog, and you could have had him processing his emotions in a positive way by playing fetch on the moon with Krypto and smiling and being happy and dealing with the fact that maybe all of Earth hates me, but I'm gonna be okay. I have my friends and my family, like Krypto. Lex Luthor was seen as a villain for abducting Superman's dog for 30 minutes. So what does that make Mr. James Gunn, who has abducted Krypto away from Superman forever? He even stated his main motivation for doing this Superman movie was Krypto, but I'm gonna call BS on that with all due respect, because the first thing he did when he was given the green light for Superman was to take the dog away from him and give it to Supergirl. I also heard test audiences were upset at a scene of Krypto being punched. That also would have definitely raised the emotional stakes of the film, especially if it was Clark's dog. But even if it wasn't, that would still have raised the emotional stakes. That should have been kept in the film. How Krypto was handled in the script was a betrayal of both the Hound and his master, the last son of Krypton. But nobody should be surprised. This is Hollywood, and it's 2025. It's a shame. The city of Metropolis and the Daily Planet have never looked better. This is a rich and deep Superman sandbox to tell one story in. The Daily Planet is famous for having seagulls flying around it, which I did not notice in the movie, but maybe I missed it. And while I didn't like how this film constantly makes silly jokes, an easy one to naturally have fit into the script would be to have Lombard getting literally and metaphorically shit on by a seagull. They all go to the rooftop in the movie in the third act to get into Mr. Terrific's flying saucer, and he's already hamming it up all the time in this movie anyway. That would have been a very easy way to have a silly joke that makes sense in the world of Metropolis and the Daily Planet. Jor-el and Lara, Superman's biological parents. Great Krypton. What have they done to you? Superman's biological parents sent him to Earth to conquer the weak people here in this timeline, so they're basically warrior Saiyans from planet Vegeta in this movie. This is an extremely controversial way to change the Superman lore. This is the first Superman I've ever seen that knows almost nothing about his Kryptonian heritage. He only has a 15-second message from his mom and dad that tell him they love him more than heaven, and they sent him to Earth. That's pretty much all he knows. It's kind of nuts. Clark's Kryptonian heritage is something Kal-el takes pride in, but now he doesn't know that side of his origins at all. In every other version, he speaks and learns a great deal of wisdom from his jor-el AI father in the Fortress of Solitude, and that helps guide him and help him understand that half of who he is. This is a wild change to make to Superman, and in my opinion, it does not pay off in the end of the movie. Clark essentially replaces his Kryptonian parents with his Earth parents in that last scene, but all four of them are extremely important to Superman understanding who he is and being able to be Superman. Crazy. We get to hear Kryptonian, or Kryptonese, spoken for the first time ever, I think, which was a neat detail. I don't understand how Superman knows so little about Krypton, but he has all of these Superman robots. Like, were their memories wiped as well? Why do they know nothing? In the beginning of the movie, we're watching one robot deliver exposition to another robot explaining to that robot that Superman doesn't really know anything except that his parents sent him to Earth and they love him and that the message got damaged. That's all they know. How are there Kryptonian robots and they don't know anything about anything? That seems like such a huge plot hole, but all right. It's a hot mess, folks. Rest in peace, Jor-El and Lara Mattering. Their costumes and their Kryptonian clothes looked cool, and it was cool to hear them speak in Kryptonese. They kind of don't matter at all in this movie. Kind of nuts. And I thought maybe like the message had been poorly translated and Lex had like tampered with it, but more exposition comes up and immediately Mr. Terrific steps in and goes, "Sorry, Clark, but I'm friends with all those smart computer guys. There's no way it could be fake. I'm so sorry, man." So like the movie tells you, nah, this is real. It's not Lex being sneaky. Like, okay, that's crazy. Jonathan and Martha Kent. If you were hoping to see Jonathan Kent portrayed as a quivering jello bowl of emotions, you are in luck. He seriously seems like he's on estrogen pills, and while I don't mind him being balder and heavier set and with a thicker accent than ever before, his portrayal as an uncomposed emotional softie is not at all like the comics and movies that have come before. Like, not even close. They also make Martha and Jonathan out to be kind of simpletons, in my opinion. Martha's like right up against the phone on the coffee table talking to Clark, like yelling into the phone, "Don't be a stranger, Clark." Like she's never seen a phone before. Kind of insane. Also, Jonathan Kent forgets Lois's name. That Luann is nice. It's Lois, Dad. But yeah, she's cool. He has to like correct him. So apparently he can't remember people's names in this version. It was a missed opportunity not to have Jonathan playing baseball, just playing catch with Clark, because Clark's going through a hard time. He just found out that his parents sent him here to conquer all of Earth. He's questioning who he is. But there's no way he would say no to playing catch with his pops, his pa. So, you know, I would have liked to have seen him be like, "Clark, you want to throw the ball around? Come throw the ball around, Clark." And then they talk, and that's where they could have that nice conversation takes place, because he does say some important things to Clark that are on the money and true about Superman. He says, I think what you thought that message meant says a heck of a lot more about you than what it actually means." And then he tells him, "Your choices, your actions, that's who you are." And that's true. They're talking about Superman's judgment and the actions he takes. Very, very true. And then he says, "I couldn't be more proud of you." And then he gets really emotional because he's always emotional. Now, I wouldn't mind him getting a little choked up on his words there, because that's fine. The other Pa Kent in Man of Steel gets a little bit emotional too, when Clark says, "I just want to keep pretending to be your son." But the fact that he's always got tears in his eyes, he's always on the verge of like breaking down sobbing, is so not Jonathan Kent. I gotta stick up for Jonathan. That's messed up.
Wrong!
It's the worst representation of the Kents I've ever seen, and I am not knocking the actors. They did a great job, and they did everything the script told them to do. Also, missed opportunity with Martha. Martha helps Clark make the suit, the super suit, and they make it together because it's made from materials from Krypton that she can't physically cut, so she needs Clark to use the heat vision to separate the materials and help put it all together. So it would have been cool, because he's coming back from a lot of battling. She could be like worried about him, seeing that this incredibly durable suit has been damaged, and she could be like concerned for Clark and also need him to help her. Like, we got to put this back together and, you know, fix the suit a little bit, showing some history and lore of how that suit came about. He's literally wrapped in the garments of not only his Kryptonian mother who loves him, but also wrapped in the garments of his Earthling mother that helped make it for him. So he's wrapped in this protective material that's also basically infused with the love of his family from both Earth and Krypton. It's beautiful, and we don't get any of that. Unfortunate. Jimmy Olsen is Don Juan DeMarco on sexual steroids. Jimmy did survive longer than the last Jimmy, so W Jimmy. They make him go from an intern photographer type of character to an equal to Clark as like a journalist at the Daily Planet. That's fine, I guess, whatever. They also make him a huge player with massive amounts of riz and game with women. Okay, that's fine, I guess, too. It's kind of getting extreme, but whatever. But then they make it so that it's a crucial part of the plot is that Lex Luthor's current girlfriend is obsessed with Jimmy and all of his riz and how sexy he is, and she just wants to be with him. This is so crazy. Like, I don't even want to say more on this other than what I just said. It's crazy. Perry White. Perry White is essentially just a human cigar in this movie. He's never really been less important to a Superman story. Not a knock on the actor at all. He just doesn't really have much to do. In the third act, he randomly becomes Captain Kirk, and he rallies the whole Daily Planet group, and they all become his crew, and they go off in Mr. Terrific's UFO ship to, like, make a story about what's happening with the interdimensional rift eating Metropolis. It's so random and bizarre, but okay. Lombard, the sports journalist, is used to constantly be funny, or at least attempt to be. Again, not a knock on the actor. The script calls for him to be kind of goofing around and being funny, quote unquote, in the background a lot. And he is occasionally funny, but it's so nonstop that it really becomes tiresome quickly. Miss Grant is essentially in this movie to be hot. That's not an insult, and she does a great job, but she's pretty much there to be attractive. Guy Gardner is very cool. I'm not commenting on the dialogue he's given. I'm just saying that Mr. Nathan Fillion is very charismatic and funny. Mr. Terrific was a huge bonus. I didn't expect anything out of him. He was cool. Hawk Girl is more like Hummingbird Girl. She's very small, and I think having her screech like a literal hawk was a really bad idea. It's so, I don't like using the word cringe, but it's kind of cringe, and I think they should have just done away with that. Her costume looks cool. Her character kind of always comes across as aloof, bored, too cool for school, a little sarcastic, a little above it all. I honestly wouldn't have noticed if she wasn't in the movie at all. It could have just been Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, and Mr. Terrific, but that's just me. I kind of liked the engineer. They explore her humanity, and even though it's more exposition, she goes, I gave up some of my humanity, Lex, to become this nanomachine monster. But there's a moment that could have been explored that wasn't. That was a huge missed opportunity where Superman is fighting her and Ultraman in the baseball field, and Superman tries to reason with both of them. He says, it's not too late for either of you. You don't have to do this. And it would have been really cool to see a moment of pause in the engineer's face where you can see in her eyes she's really considering what he's offering. She's realizing this alien is actually pretty gosh dang cool. Maybe I'm on the wrong side, you know? And before she has a chance to say anything or react, boom, Ultraman crashes back into them and the fight continues. That would have been amazing, and a cool way of exploring the humanity aspects of Superman through the lens of a villain. The engineer, missed opportunity. Ultraman, I love the idea of clone Superman. Super badass. It's in the comics. It also explores Superman's humanity because he's this puppet who's basically probably had his soul and emotion electroshock therapy out of his body by Lex. He can speak. He says like one word. He says copy when Lex tells him that Superman's on his left in the beginning, but that's the only time I ever hear him actually speak. He screams in pain, so he clearly still can feel pain, so that's pretty interesting. But I love that. It's like a really messed up RoboCop, like dark version of Superman. He's got the long hair. It's kind of like from Death of Superman. Cool ideas to be played with. We'll get more into it. But overall, I like the idea of Ultraman quite a bit, aka the Hammer of Baravia. I think I've been saying Baravia, but it's Baravia apparently. Supergirl. Okay. This was my one prediction I made. I said she's going to be in the movie, and I almost wish I was wrong, because you can only make a first impression once, and the first impression they made for her was really a bad one. She comes in drunk, okay, and she's ungrateful. She says, "Thanks for watching the dog, bitch." And then she stumbles out drunk with Krypto, who is not trained, and she doesn't train him at all, and she's just kind of rude, and I can't believe that's how they portrayed her. I can't believe this is your first introduction to Supergirl, and that's how they chose to portray her as basically a drunk sorority chick struggling with addiction and not being very nice to Clark. That's for sure. In the comics, she loves Clark and she's very nice to him, and I'm sure that they'd argue that she loves him in this one too. Didn't come across that way. Came across as very rude, actually. Yeah. And cussing. Like, Supergirl's a role model for little girls. So little girls are going to watch this movie and see her cussing at Superman, see her being ungrateful, and see her drinking alcohol and thinking, oh, those things are cool. I can't believe that's how they portrayed it. Maybe in the next movie they're going to play on that more and explore the idea that she's just coping with all of the sadness of dealing with Krypton and her people being dead, and so she's using alcohol to mask the pain. I don't know, but still, this is a kids movie. Little girls look up to this, and that's the example they got. Okay, so I'm just going to start going over Superman's character from the beginning of the film, and when Lois and Lex pop up, we will address them too. I'd like to start by saying that Mr. David Cornsweet makes for a super Superman. He does a great job. So the movie starts with Superman only having been wearing the cape for about 3 years, which is basically the Man of Steel comic by Mr. Byrne. This is a great place to start, in my opinion, because you drop right into the universe and it's early in the story. As you may or may not know, Kryptonians age like a fine Kryptonian wine, so the longer they spend in the yellow sun, the stronger they get. So this particular Superman is much weaker than, say, Reborn Superman or Kingdom Come Kal-El. By that point, kryptonite doesn't even affect Superman. Since we'd want to have our protagonist of our DC reboot have challenges and room to grow and learn and improve, starting him out when he's younger and a bit less experienced and a bit more vulnerable is a smart decision. As the Disney Star Wars movies have taught us, max-level characters that never make mistakes and have no flaws are incredibly boring. Remember, Luke Skywalker essentially got his butt kicked for all 3 acts of the second film of his trilogy. He perseveres and refuses to quit and is richly rewarded by the 3rd film for his persistence and faith in keeping on, keeping on. So in the beginning, Superman's bleeding. We've seen Superman bleed before.
Do you bleed?
Find him!
What's happening to him?
He's rejecting our ship's atmospherics.
And I remember when this happened in the trailer, I was like, oh, I wonder what it was that messed Superman up. I started going through the list of things that could do that to him. Doomsday, Kryptonite, another Kryptonian, which it turned out to be technically because it's a clone of Kal-El, right? If anyone could kick Superman's butt, it's Superman. We see Superman getting some radiation healing done, and that's been explored before in the Superman world, and it was cool to see Kryptonian robots with sun tech. Superman falls off the table, mostly revitalized, and goes, golly. Now, Clark Kent talks like this in the comics and the movies, so that's fine.
Golly.
Golly, that doesn't seem to make sense.
Gosh, on the whole, I'd say it's been swell.
Swell? You know, Clark, there are very few people left in the world who feel comfortable saying that word.
What word?
Swell.
Really? Oh, I thought it was kind of natural. I mean, gee, Lois, usually I do, you know. Golly, Lois, what are you doing? Golly? But Tippers, Mr. White, that's terrible. But gee, Mr. White.
This golly felt a little out of place, and this is the first time Superman is using those words, but I don't mind that as a choice, because that's just the Smallville Clark coming out in him. Later on, he says stuff like, what the hey, and good gosh, and those felt a lot more appropriately placed. So then Kal-El flies back to Metropolis, where he gets his butt kicked by Ultraman being remote controlled by Lex Luthor. This is the most absurd plot point, or one of the most absurd plot points I've ever heard of. So you're telling me that Lex Luthor can put nanites in someone's blood, can create pocket universes and little big bangs, but can't put on a VR suit and just neurologically directly plug into Ultraman and control him? I mean, that's in the comics that he uses VR to control stuff off in space. Why can't he just control Ultraman like that? Having a NASA scientist control room team of people just constantly saying exposition. One lady goes, it's like he knows his every move. He does. He studied him for years. And then some Otis, which is another guy who says exposition, goes, yeah, Lex has made 2,500 moves and memorized them. So he memorizes commands like 1A. And there's also 2X. That's to kick him in the nuts, by the way. But Lex is basically saying numbers and letters, 37B, 7F. And then the NASA remote control scientists, people, execute those moves at their desk. And that's how Ultraman controls and defeats Superman. Superman can fly around the world in about a second, probably less than a second. So by the time Lex Luthor is done giving a command, 5B, for instance, and by the time that lady hears it and tries to implement it into the computer, Superman has flown around the world once or twice. There is no way you could beat Ultraman, or there's no way you could beat Superman this way. It's the most inefficient way to control someone I've ever heard of. It makes me think some out-of-touch executive was like, I think video games and streaming is popular. Make it like a video game where he like says commands. It's so stupid. So basically in this universe, Superman shows up and stops a puppy from being curb stomped into a meat pancake, and Lex Luthor's reaction to that is pretty much,
really? Oh, so that's how you're gonna play it. That's all I needed for him to do that, and it became personal with me.
Luckily, after a good night's sleep, you know, he let it go and matured.
Yeah, Superman! You're taking everything I work for. I'm gonna fight your. You know what's the real fight? What's the real money fight is me, not these that you already punked at the press conference. You want that real right here. Hey, and I'm not. Unfortunately, we can't talk like that.
But Nicholas Hoult is a really great cast as Lex Luthor. He's a great height. He's like 6'4", so he's a good match for Mr. David Cornsweet. He looks like Lex. He dresses like Lex. It's a much bigger improvement from being comic book accurate from the last guy that we got. No offense.
Ahoy, ahoy. It's Cherry.
We barely get to see the Clark Kent side of Superman. He has hypno glasses now, which I guess is in the comics. I've never heard of it, but I'll believe the director when he says that it's in the comics. Okay. I still would have liked to have seen more Clark Kent, but in the old days, the glasses were really important to Superman, but not as much anymore.
No, I've got no.
Clark,
Look.
You've got to look after yourself. You've only got one pair of eyes, you know? God.
Lois?
Now here.
Right.
Don't say I never did it.
Thank you.
Have you ever thought of using contacts?
They make my eyes itch, so.
Well, don't worry about it. Some blush
Then there's the interview with Lois. That happens in every movie. Superman gets interviewed by Lois, so this happens again. I was really worried about this scene. I was concerned from the trailer that she was going to lecture him and be like, Superman, you don't know how to do it right. I'm going to tell you how to be Superman. But it actually wasn't like that, thank goodness. There are issues, and we're going to talk about them right now, but thankfully, her lecturing Superman on how to be was not one of them. He agrees to do an interview with her. This is a mistake, but, you know, first movie of our character in the first act making mistakes and having being a little cocky, having some inexperience, that's fine. She even tells him, you're not going to like being interviewed by me, which is true, because being interviewed by Lois Lane is like a Republican going on CNN to be interviewed, or like a Democrat going on Fox News to be interviewed. It's going to be brutal and ruthless. It's just how Lois Lane is as a reporter. What I had a problem with is she brings up a hashtag super and this bothers Superman so much that he gets upset and stops the interview. Now, the only reason why he is doing this is to get a cheap laugh out of the audience, and it did. Like, he kind of like gets triggered. Superman would not get triggered over something so minimal, in my opinion. He certainly wouldn't stop an interview with his girlfriend that he's been dating over a word, but they wanted to use cheap laughs, so they did that. Lois also says, this is what you always do. You pout and then you leave. If that's true, and you know, it seems like Lois is accurately reporting on his behavior, why would she lie? Superman doesn't pout. Superman doesn't pout and storm out. So the fact that that was in the script describing Superman that way, I think is a huge problem and not at all true. Wrong! There is one point where he goes, people were gonna die, and he gets frustrated. That I understand where he's coming from, because he deals with people dying every day, and he was tired of being questioned by someone that doesn't have to put up with the crazy stuff that he has to put up with. Like, yeah, people were gonna die, Lois. You don't understand. Your toughest choice this week was, do I put cinnamon on my mocha or do I get whipped cream on my latte? My toughest choice this week was watching a 3-year-old girl explode by a bomb. People were gonna die, Lois. You don't get it. I can understand where he's coming from and being frustrated at that point, because, yeah, it's easy for you to be a reporter over there and sit back with your nice cushy job saying, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? I'm actually out here saving lives. So I understood his frustration at that point. Lois does ask a lot of important questions that Superman has not asked himself. So it is like, she brings up great points. Like, as much as this country might seem to be the aggressor, you don't know for sure. You're interjecting yourself into other people's politics and countries' engagements and wars. Like, did you think about that? And I don't have a problem with him making that mistake, and I don't have a problem with Lois pointing that out. Like, fair enough. What I have a problem with is him pouting and him leaving the interview over the word the hashtag super shit. Really, that triggered him so much he has to stop the interview. Okay, pretty silly, but there you go. That scene could have been way worse, and it wasn't, thank gosh. And you know, with Jarhanpur and Baravia and the military engagement, this isn't a new idea with Superman. Usually he stays out of stuff, but this is an earlier version of the character. Maybe he needs to learn the hard way not to get involved so much. But he is the people's champion, so countries campaigning for Superman to come help them does not surprise me at all. He is the people's champion of Earth. Everyone would want Superman to come save them if they were being invaded and killed and run over by tanks. Like, come on, if that was happening to you, you're telling me you wouldn't put up a Superman flag and hope? I would. And comic books like Unchained address this idea of Superman and the government and what happens when you interfere with the military. So I don't have a problem with that in the movie. I thought that was fine. Then we come to the kaiju monster in Metropolis. This is not anything unusual for Metropolis. Big monsters, King Konging and Godzilla-ing all over Metropolis has been happening since the 40s. Superman saves a dog, Superman saves a squirrel, he saves a lady, and he does the Superman thing in this movie. He checks to make sure you're okay. He asks if you're all right. Maybe some people don't like that he saved a squirrel, but he would save a squirrel, especially if he had time. Now, do I think the squirrel should have gotten an action-reaction shot like he's freaking Iron Man? No, I don't. And did I expect squirrels to keep showing up in this movie? No, I didn't. That's not the first time squirrels appear in the film. The Baravian leader has a portrait of himself on a horse holding a squirrel, like this regal photo of him and his horse and his squirrel. I have no idea why that's in the movie, but okay. And then later on, Krypto is being kept in a stasis chamber chasing CGI squirrels with CGI Superman capes attached to the squirrels' necks because Lex Luthor apparently is so crazy he demanded one of his NASA computer scientists to put little Superman capes on these CGI squirrels that Krypto is chasing. I don't know what the deal is with the squirrels. Again, all right. But he would save animals. Like, you know, he values the life of artificial intelligent robots. He gets upset when sun eaters get killed. So I understand that he would help the squirrel. That is actually quite Superman. If you didn't like that, fine. But it's a Superman move. Again, I don't know why the squirrel got a reaction shot like he was the star of the movie. It's so campy. But all right. Then we have the news turning on Superman. And, you know, the newspapers are a big part of the storytelling world of Superman, if you're not familiar with it, in the cartoons and the movies, the comics. And they touch on that with basically the plot point of his parents sending him here to kill all of us and dominate all life. And basically it just gets plastered on some billboard. And then everyone just immediately turns on Superman on a dime. Yeah, you suck, Superman. So random. And I can't believe this is a real plot point. I was assuming Lex would have tampered with it, but no, he didn't. And Lex says that Superman's grooming us and that he has a secret harem. And basically, this isn't a new idea, the news being used to turn people on Superman and basically salaciously attack him to turn public favor against him.
In the wake of this week's dramatic developments, we asked the people of Metropolis how they felt about the Man of Steel.
If you ask me, the bum ought to go back where he came from.
I used to consider him my friend, but now...
Superman saved the world dozens of times. We owe him a second chance.
No one man should have that much power.
He's a traitor and a menace.
I'm locking my bedroom door at night.
It's happened before. Then we have the robot death and the AI. So this movie explores artificial intelligence very briefly and doesn't do a very good job of it, in my opinion, but it reminds me a lot of the All-Star Superman comic reference. So the robots all get killed, and Robot 4 is inexplicably stabbing himself in the head with a screwdriver. I don't know what that scene was. Like, is that supposed to be a joke of him, like, repairing himself? And I guess so, because he repairs himself by the end of the movie. But anyway, Superman's, like, sad to see the robot be dead. But he's not dead. He comes back, so it loses even more of the weight that it should have had. My point is, I don't have a problem with Superman being sad over an AI robot dying. It would have made so much more sense had we built a relationship up between Superman and Robot 4, and he dies in like the third act, so when he dies it actually means something. But that doesn't happen. It's in the beginning, and then he's like comedically stabbing himself in the head, and then he's not dead at all. But they were playing on the idea of the All-Star Superman comic, where basically a Superman robot gets hacked by Lex Luthor, and that's how Superman gets the sun cancer, essentially, which is going to kill him. And so it feels the need to atone. It feels guilt. The robots also feel loyalty, and like they say, like, we're not going to let you go on your own. Like, we're going to come help you. And that's how much Superman's compassion inspires others, is AI robots want to throw down till the very end for their Superman, even when they don't get asked, because Superman doesn't even ask them to come help. They're like, we're coming with you. We're going to leave one to stay behind to watch the fortress, but we're going to war with you, Superman. And like I said, he's the people's champion, even for the AI robots, which I think was really cool. And Superman is worried about them dying. He's like, save yourselves. They're going to wipe your memory. Get out of here. So that's what they were playing on. And that also got addressed in Superman 3, artificial intelligence. I know what you're thinking, that those are the best effects you've ever seen in a science fiction film of all time. You'd be right. But yeah, they play on that from Superman 3. It's in the comics. Not well done, but that's what I think they were slightly touching on with this robot death of Robot 4. Then they do the brains versus brawn.
You know, with my brains and frankly, your brawn.
So this is when Superman breaks down the door and tries to demand and intimidate Lex into getting his dog back, but it's not his dog, so him being so angry doesn't make nearly as much sense as it would have if it was Krypto that was his, right? But it's not. Just like it would have made a lot more sense in the first act when he's bleeding and messed up if Krypto was worried and concerned, because, you know, animals are emotionally intelligent. They could sense that Clark is hurt, his bones are broken, he's bleeding. So having Krypto come up and be like worried and anxious, you know, like whimpering and licking his face, wanting to help him, that would have made a lot more sense. And it would have made a lot more sense why Superman would be mad, breaking the door down, yelling, trying to intimidate Lex to get his dog back. But it's not his dog, so it doesn't make nearly as much sense as it should. It's not the first time Superman has lost his temper or broken down a door. He does it in the first movie, and you know, he's cocky and arrogant and tries to use brains over brawn and doesn't realize he's getting played by Lex, and he ends up almost dying to kryptonite.
It's open. Come in. My attorney will be in touch with you about the damage to the door.
Well, I, on the other hand, could stop them with my detonator.
All right, Luther. Where is it? Where's a detonator? You diseased maniac. Do you really think you could hide it from me by encasing it in lead? I'll mold this box into your prison bars.
Don't touch that. I told you. It's kryptonite, Superman. Little souvenir for the old hometown. I've spared no expense to make you feel right at home.
And he makes similar cocky mistakes in this one where he thinks he can just be stronger and louder, and he goes in angry and he clearly makes mistakes and has egg on his face in this moment. It's not a good time for Superman. They use it to make him look bad in the news even more, which is fine because you're making mistakes. But again, if that was actually his dog, it would have made a lot more sense. He also does it in Last Son. He breaks down doors and enters. I think he does it multiple times in that comic. It's kind of Superman's thing to punch down doors and go in. A learning experience for Superman there, where you can't try and intimidate or just assume because you're the strongest you're going to get your way. So I don't have a problem with that. I actually like that. I just think it would have made so much more sense if it was his dog that was stolen, of course. Then there's the whole the real punk rock moment. So Superman is about to hand himself in to the United States government, and Lois is like, you think everyone is beautiful and you trust them. And then Superman goes, maybe that's the real punk rock. And they were trying and they were close to touching on something there, but that's not true. Superman does not think everyone is beautiful, and he certainly doesn't trust everyone because that's incredibly naive. Now, it sounds like what they were trying to do was touch on what Mr. Christopher Reeve was talking about earlier, which is a way of viewing the world. Everyone's your neighbor, trying to help each other, consider each other, empathy. And that is the real punk rock. So if Lois had said something more along the lines of like, you treat everyone like they're your next door neighbor and you're always putting yourself in other people's shoes, then Superman could say, maybe that's the real punk rock. And that would have been like right on the money, because it taps into one of the main things about Superman, which is his empathy, his compassion, putting himself in other people's shoes. But instead, I think they kind of butchered it with the whole, you think everyone's beautiful and you trust them. Doesn't make sense. Then Superman gets put in jail, the intergalactic jail thingy, and Lex says, tall, dark, and Martian isn't my type, which is another reference to Superman 4 when Lex says tall, dark, and handsome.
Look to your left, tall, dark, and handsome.
Then we come to one of the other most insane plot points. The monkeys that have been neurologically plugged into Twitter and are Lex Luthor's slaves to rage bait and be toxic and sway public opinion against Superman. And he keeps these, I think I called them chimpanzees earlier. My mistake. They are monkeys, not chimpanzees. But as Lex would say, same diff. So crazy that this is a plot point in the movie. You would think it would be like a joke in the after credits, maybe, or like bloopers, but no, this is a real plot point. Lex has an army of monkeys that he has plugged into social media that are constantly angry and tweeting like hostile, negative things about Superman to convince people that he sucks. Crazy. I like Falafel Guy. Falafel Guy's cool. Lex could definitely have the ability to get this guy's information and bring him in, so I don't mind that. And he was really brave. I liked when he was like, Superman, I don't believe him. I don't believe what they're saying about you on the news. It was an honor when you ate my food. Like, okay, this guy's pretty brave. I respected that guy. Cool. Metamorpho has no purpose in this movie other than to be kryptonite, and for some reason there's none left on Earth, and they make a point of saying that in the beginning of the movie. It's exposition. Why? We don't know. Why can't Lex just have kryptonite? I don't know. But he's basically in this movie just to be kryptonite. And I feel like there's actor contracts that demand that he be in the movie longer, because he really has no purpose to be in the third act, but he shows up there too. And I'll be honest, I could have done without Metamorpho coming back into the third act as well. Him and his CGI baby, the green CGI baby, kind of take away precious script time that could have been used for Superman and Krypto to have some bonding and some character growth between the two of them, because Superman's super messed up by the kryptonite. And so you've got Lex Corpse or Luthor Corpse mech guys like, get him, he's weak, beat him up. And Superman can be like, yeah, I am not recovered yet, but you know who's not? And then he could whistle. But you know who is in tip-top shape? And then he could whistle for Krypto, and Krypto could come zooming in, and he would be defensive and aggressive because his master, his best friend, is being attacked by these mechs. And so you could have like a really awesome scene of Krypto coming in, saving the day because he hasn't been affected by the kryptonite. Instead, we just kind of watch Superman drowning in a Minecraft lava river holding up a screaming CGI baby. Not a great use. I like the Silver Age science fiction feel and look of this scene, but it was wasted on characters that don't matter at all, like Metamorpho and his green CGI baby, when it should have been used to really build up Superman and Krypto. And then brains over brawn. So the big brains over brawn moment at the end of the movie is Superman figuring out that Krypto likes to attack things that look like tennis balls, so like Mr. Terrific's T-balls, or the cameras that they use to control Ultraman. And so he has Krypto destroy the cameras that are viewing Ultraman, so now they can't use their special techniques to beat Superman. Again, it makes no sense that they're shouting commands and it's somehow beating Superman. He can fly around the world in a second. Doesn't make sense. But then Lex Luthor gives this really heartfelt speech, and it's the most absurd speech I've ever heard, but the actor does a really great job making you think that it's well written because he gives such a great performance. But it's absurd, the things he's saying about being envious, about people like Galileo and stuff. Huge props to the actor. It's preposterous from a writing perspective of what he's saying. Same with Superman. Superman's like, that's where you're always wrong about me, because Lex Luthor calls him an alien piece of shit, which is funny. And then Superman's like, that's where you're always wrong about me. And I'm like, is it? Because you are an alien. I understand you're defending yourself not being a piece of shit, but he's not wrong about you being an alien. So then Superman gives a speech about how his humanity is the best part of him and how he doesn't know what to do sometimes, and he just puts his foot in front of the other, and he gets scared, he loves, blah, blah, blah. It's a crazy, ridiculous speech. Again, well performed by the actor, but the speech is ridiculous, and it feels like it's being forced, and it hasn't been earned and built up through 3 acts. It's just, and now this is the part where we say this part of the message. And it is true that his humanity and his compassion is one of his strongest assets, and also what, villains use to try and attack him. Final thoughts. Is this a great Superman movie? In my opinion, no, it isn't. I wouldn't say it's a good one either. It is a Superman movie. I'm going to give it 2 Kryptonian crystals out of 5, which is a random rating system I just came up with on the spot. There you go. Not a good film. I would say it's crippled by the script. I'll give Mr. David Cornsweet 5 Kryptonian crystals out of 5, though, for being a great Superman. He deserves a sequel. I don't think the individual that wrote this script deserves to write a sequel. And I'll give the script half a Kryptonian crystal out of 5 for effort. The composers, costume designers, special effects artists, actors, and cinematographer and editors and lighting crew all showed up and delivered, but the script laid an egg. And unfortunately, a script is the spine of a movie. Without it, it can't stand up. Think of the script as like the bus driver of the movie. If you don't have one, you're going into the pond, no matter how great your passengers are, and even Kal-El won't be able to rescue it. I know I've criticized the writing a lot, so let me just say, I don't think I know how to write a better Superman movie, but I didn't get paid millions of dollars to write them either. In my opinion, it's best to hire 2 people to handle the directing and the writing. Those 2 jobs are way too massive for one person to have both of them, and that's what happened with this movie. I'm going to have the late, great Mr. Reeve carry us off now, because I'll never be as well-spoken, wise, or eloquent as our buddy Big Blue. But before I do, I want to leave you with this. Whether you're receiving this transmission in the past, or in the future, or in the rushing by of the right now, whether you're an Earthling, a Martian, a Kal-el, or a Kryptonian, don't forget to look up once in a while. Maybe today was a great day for some of you, and for others, maybe it wasn't a great day at all. Either way, if you're lucky, you'll have tomorrow, and tomorrow is a new day that has new beginnings, and with that comes infinite possibilities. Thank you so very much for watching and listening, and if you're listening, Mom and Dad, I love you guys. Thank you for being such wonderful parents. This is Kal-El of Planet Earth, signing off from the Fortress of Solitude.
Well, once more, we survived the threat of war and found a fragile peace. I thought I could give you all the gift of the freedom from war, but I was wrong. It's not mine to give. We're still a young planet. There are galaxies out there, other civilizations for us to meet, to learn from. What a brilliant future we could have. And there will be peace. There will be peace when the people of the world want it so badly that their governments will have no choice but to give it to them. I just wish you could all see the Earth the way that I see it. Because when you really look at it, it's just one world.